Good evening, students. Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Sir,
Yeah, please tell me. Yeah, Subhrajit, tell me.
sir, I have certain doubts.
Yeah, sure, you can ask. Just give me a minute. I'm opening my document.
Okay, sir.
Yeah, please tell me what it is. My document is taking some time, but you can let me know what is your doubt.
Yes, sir. Sir, is volumetric stress only for spherical objects or any objects in general?
It can be any object, no? Any object which has volume. So it is for a three-dimensional object. Okay. So
Okay, sir.
whenever any three-dimensional object is there, any object that has volume, right? So if that object is subjected to stress from all the directions with equal amount of force, then one of the forces divided by the area of cross section is going to give you the value of volumetric stress. So the amount of force divided by unit area is what you can call it as volumetric stress. And this is what we technically call it as pressure also. That's what I told you yesterday, right? Yeah.
Yes.
So what is your next doubt?
Yes, sir. The next doubt is, sir, suppose
Mhm.
if there is an object and we apply a force of say 5 Newton to the object, but there's
One
no
minute. What
deformation
kind
in
of
the
an object is it? Is it a one-dimensional object, two-dimensional, or how do you want me to take?
Sir, one-dimensional object.
Okay, one-dimensional in the sense, see, generally every object is three-dimensional only. It can become a one-dimensional object provided you ignore the thickness. Am I right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now you want to apply a force of 6 Newton, pulling or a pushing force?
Sir, pushing force on both the sides of 6 Newton.
Okay, 1 minute. Pushing force is applicable for what kind of a material? Is it applicable for wire or only a rod?
Only a rod.
Yes. So it is a solid material. Please tell me. Yeah.
And sir, but there is no change in the shape of the rod.
Mm-hmm.
But after 6 Newton, if he applies further force, suppose 7 Newton, then there's a change in the shape of the rod.
Okay.
Then would the stress still be 7 Newton divided by the area on which it is
Yeah,
acting?
it is going.
Or
It is
would
going
it be
to
1 Newton?
No, 7 by area, because the 7 Newton is the one which is responsible for deforming. See, you use the word change of shape, right? So change of shape. Let's look at it in a simple terms. Change of shape. See, something which has a shape, can I say it is in a form? So something which is out of
Yes,
shape
sir.
is deformed. Does it make sense? So whenever you use the word change of shape, then the object has got deformed. So for the object to get deformed, you need to apply what? A deforming force. So out of the two values that you gave to me, which one caused this kind of an effect?
7 Newton.
So that should be taken.
Okay, sir.
Right.
Understood.
Got it? Yeah. That's it?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Others? Any other doubt? Did you guys go through the concept? Anything you want me to explain again which is confusing you? This chapter is all about terms and... Sorry, Raghav, yeah, tell me. Any doubt?
Sir, if a rod is hanged from a wall, so the force it will
Rank
be
is hanging from a wall or a ceiling? From a roof?
from a, yeah, it's clamped to a roof.
Okay, you want a ceiling and you want a rod to be hanging. Is that right? Like you
Yes,
say,
sir.
like let's say you would have seen fan rods, something similar to that.
Sir, so the force acting on the bottommost part
Mhm.
and the force acting due to the reaction force, would it be equal
They should be
at
equal.
the top?
Yeah, they should be equal. And see, generally, technically speaking, what if you remember in the concept of string, when I taught you the concept of string, I would have mentioned this. When you tie a block here, this mg is the force that will come here. Okay, let me try to create a small relevance. What I will do is I'll explain what exactly happens in real time and what exactly is taken for the problem solving purpose, because there is not much variation in it. Try to understand. Okay, so what did I say? This is a string. Do you remember the Newton's laws of motion, the chapter, the free body electric constant? So mg is downwards. So what will happen? What will be the reaction force offered by the string? It is the tension. I hope you remember till this, right? So I told you one important point. The tension will be the same. It is an action reaction pair. Means within the same material, it will act in two different directions. Is that right? So what will happen to this tension at this point? What will be the value of tension at this point?
Has to be T.
It has to be T, but now in the downward direction. Is that right? Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, but when will these two values be the same? I told you another important parameter also. There are two conditions to be satisfied by the string. What are they? One is
If it is
it should be,
massless,
yes, and it is inextensible. When I use the word inextensible, it is not an elastic material. So this is an ideal scenario. But what are we discussing now? What are we trying to discuss now? We are trying to say that it is not an ideal scenario. Means when there is a force applied here, there will be a small value of change in length that is going to take place. So I am assuming, since you told it is a rod, I'm assuming it to be one dimensional. So I'm saying that there is going to be a change in length. Okay. Then what would have happened is this is an elastic material. So practically speaking, the value of force at this point should be lesser than that. It should be F dash, where F dash should be slightly less than F. Or I can write it like this: F dash is approximately equal to F. This is what happens in a practical scenario. But for a problem solving purpose, to answer your question, what would be the value?
sir. And in the second case which you have drawn, where you have taken only a single block, in case we needed to find the elongation due to its
Mhm.
weight, we can directly apply the formula. But in the first case, we have to integrate it, right?
Here,
Yes, sir.
in this case, you no need to do that. That's what I told you. In 11th standard, whatever problem is being asked, it is not a complicated structure. It is because I am interested to teach you something practically and make you visualize. I'm telling both the points. Okay, so don't get confused. What I'm trying to say is, for problem solving purpose, here if it is F, to answer your question a simpler way, here also it is F only. Okay. But I try to explain the string concept because what we have considered there is an ideal scenario. So something from here gets slightly changed in this way. That is what I try to explain.
Yes,
There is
sir,
a
that's
slight.
fine. But then if we consider this rod, in case we needed to find the elongation due to its weight, how do we do it?
For that, you need to understand the concept of strain, which I have not yet explained. Because till now, whatever formula we saw, is there any dimension that is involved in it, except force and area? What were the two physical quantities that got involved? Force and area. If you divide these two physical quantities, you get a quantity called as stress.
Yes, sir, we'll get the stress value. But then
Stress.
here,
Mhm.
mg force is acting on each elemental particle of the rod, right?
Okay.
So, for example, if we take one elemental part at the topmost point, their elongation would be more than at the
Okay.
bottom.
Okay. But generally, when
So,
you consider, that is what I'm trying to say. Whenever you consider these elemental parts, you will consider a very, very, very small part where the elongation can be ignored. Okay. So don't get into integration as of now. You asked me how to calculate this delta L. If you can give some more time, you will understand after I explain strain, because we never calculated what will happen with respect to the dimensions. Right. After that only I can even come to this point of calculating the length. You're able to understand? So generally for CBSE purpose, it is not there, but if you want me to explain, I will do that. But after I complete strain and do the remaining parts of the chapter, only then you will understand. Or else you will have so many questions in your mind. Okay. So please wait for some more time, you will understand it. So let's get to the next topic of strain. Okay. So what is strain actually? So till now, what did we discuss? We discussed about normal stress. So under normal stress, what are the two parameters I wrote yesterday? So under normal stress, what are the longitudinal and
Volumetric.
volumetric. Right. What is the counterpart of normal stress? It is the shearing or the tangential stress. Right. So we know that when normal stress acts on a body, that can cause what? That can cause a change in dimension of the object. So when I say dimension, here the dimensions that are concerned about are length and volume. Okay. So changes the length or volume, and tangential stress is there, right? Which will change the shape of the object itself. Means in the case of normal stress, there will be no change in shape of the object. The object will still have the same shape because equal forces are applied from all the directions. Whereas with respect to shearing stress, what will happen? I told you yesterday, I showed you a book. And if I apply a tangential force, what will happen? The shape of the object changed. Right? It became like a rectangle kind of thing, became like a parallelogram. I can say something like that. Right? With some inclination here, which is not a 90-degree thing. Right? So this kind of a thing happens when deforming force acts on a body. It undergoes change in dimensions, and the body is said to be deformed, or it is under a strain. Right? The body is experiencing some strain. Right? So to define that strain, we have given a technical definition to it. What is it? If you take the ratio, technically, if you take the ratio of something, what? Ratio of change in dimension with respect to the original dimension. Okay. So if you're able to take the change in dimension to the original dimension, I'll write it like this: delta dimension divided by original dimension. Then this particular physical quantity is what is called as strain. Are you guys able to understand what I'm trying to say? So change in a parameter with respect to the original parameter. Here the parameter is a dimension. That can be length or volume. Okay, change in a dimension divided by the original dimension is called as strain. Okay, now can you tell me what is the units that the strain will take? Strain is basically a dimensionless quantity because you're dividing a physical quantity with the same physical quantity, unlike stress. In stress, what did you do? You divided force with area. Both are two different physical quantities. But here, change in length by original length, change in volume by original volume. Okay, so both have same dimension. So I'm just cancelling this. So basically, when you talk about strain can also be further subclassified. See, whenever you're doing any classification, right, classification needs a basis. You need some differentiating factor, right? So if the strain is taking place with respect to one dimension, so one dimension means what parameter comes to your mind? It is the length. So if the strain is taking place with respect to length, then you call it as longitudinal strain. If the strain is taking place with respect to volume, you call it as volume strain or volumetric strain. And if the strain is taking place with respect to the shape, you call it as the shearing strain. Is there any doubt till this point? Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Right, very good. So longitudinal strain. So only thing is stress and strain have similar kind of prefixes. So wherever you see the word longitudinal, something along the length should come to your mind. Okay. So if you consider a wire or a rod of length L, which is suspended from a rigid support as shown, then what will happen? Let's say you apply a stretching force F. Normally at the other end of the wire, it will change, it will suffer a change of delta L. So with respect to its original length, how much has the length got increased by? It is delta L. And if you divide this delta L with respect to its original length, we call it as longitudinal strain. Okay. So when will length increase? Will it increase due to the tensile stress or the compressional stress? If the length increases, it is due to the tensile stress, and if the corresponding strain is called as the tensile strain. Whereas if there is a stress which can decrease the length, it is because of the compressive stress, and the strain is called as compressive strain. I think they are all self-explanatory, simple terms, right? So with the hope that you understood, I'm proceeding to the next concept, right? So you guys tell me what will be a volume strain. Name is telling you. Strain itself means change in something by original. So here what should change? Volume, the name is telling. It is the ratio of, yes, change in volume of an object to its original volume. Okay, if V is the original volume of the object and under the action of normal stress, what will happen? If there is a change in volume of the body by delta V, then delta V divided by V is what is going to give you the long volume strain. Is it clear? So there is also obviously a dimensionless quantity. Then what about shearing strain? Shearing itself comes to your mind. Shearing is something which is happening by tangential force. So shearing strain means when you apply a tangential force, the topmost surface will get drifted by a certain value, but the bottom portion will be fixed so that there is a change in shape of the object taking place. Right? So due to which there is an angle subtended here. Right? This we discussed yesterday itself. So this angle that is getting subtended here is what is called as shearing strain. What is it? The angle that is getting subtended here is what is called as the shearing strain. As simple as that. Okay. Now, generally, this angle is measured in terms of radian. Okay. Let's say the distance between the two parallel surfaces is capital L. Then what I can say is tan theta will be equal to small l divided by capital L. Accepted? From the triangle A dash D or A dash AD, what I can say is tan theta is equal to small l divided by capital L. But generally, theta will be a very, very small quantity, small value, so that theta will be equal to small l divided by L. Do you guys know this approximation? Everybody is a math student, right? Limit theta tends to 0, tan theta is how much? You write it as 0, right? But the more closer way is you can approximate it to theta. Means if you substitute the value now, what I'm trying to say, it is 0 only. Try to understand this. I can say limit theta tends to 0. I can approximate to theta itself. Means if I substitute a 0 here, it is still going to be a 0. So this is a very, very, very important approximation that you have to learn. In your 12th standard, you learn under ray optics chapter also. Okay. So this theta, what did I say? It is the shearing strain. Okay. Right, guys? I hope I'm clear. Shall I proceed?
Sir, the small l denotes the change in length, right?
Yes. So it denotes the displacement that has caused for the topmost layer with respect to its original position. So there is a small shift, right? Are you able to understand the shift? So topmost of the bottom surface is fixed, but the top surface has got shifted.
Sir, so why are we taking the denominator as the height L?
Because what is tan theta? It is opposite divided by adjacent. No? So if you look at the triangle now, Try to understand, okay? If you look at the triangle, I'm just drawing a zoomed version. This is small l, this is capital L. What is tan theta equal to? With respect to theta, there is opposite small l divided by adjacent is capital L. Correct?
Sir, we need to take the actual displacement and the displacement, right, sir? Ratio.
No. It is no. Actual. What do you mean by actual displacement?
Like without displacement, ratio of displacement.
That, yeah, I understand. See, that change in dimension by original dimension is what you're taking, right? That's
Yes,
what
sir.
you're trying to say. No, that's not how it works for shearing strain, because this change in parameter is not happening along the length or volume. It is happening only for one surface. You're able to understand. So there is a parameter. If somebody asks me, I need to calculate the shearing strain of this book and tell. Yesterday I showed you a book, right? Then I applied a force. Let's say I applied with a swing balance, and I ask you, what is going to be the shearing stress this book will suffer when I apply this much amount of force? Then you have to calculate how much is the displacement that is going to take place for the topmost surface with respect to the displacement between the top and the bottom surface. That is how it is defined. That is the way definition is given. You're able to understand?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Okay, so this involves a lot of engineering also, but don't get into all those details. As of now, try to understand that shearing strain is nothing but the displacement that has caused to the top surface divided by the distance between the parallel sides. Okay, so these details are not needed for you. It's not there for CBSE. Okay, these 2 points maybe you can read. So these 2 points, longitudinal and volume strains do not change the shape of the body. The cause of change in magnitude of volume or length. Okay. Shearing strain causes a change only in the shape of the body. But if you try to measure the volume or something, it will going to have the same value. Okay. Similarly, stress is the property possessed by elastic bodies, but strain is possessed by all objects. Okay. So this is the important thing. Now let's try to do a simple problem to understand. So there is a copper wire. Whenever they say wire, right, the first thing that we need to do is draw a cylinder. So there is a copper wire of diameter 1 millimeter. Okay. It is stretched by applying a force of 10 Newton. So it is stretched by applying a force of 10 Newton. Find the stress in the wire. So what is the value of stress? Stress is equal to force divided by area. Right. How much is the force that has caused the deformation? 10 divided by area is what? Pi r square divided by 4. Oh, sorry, pi d square divided by 4. I hope you understood why I wrote pi d square divided by 4. Because r is equal to d by 2. So 10 divided by pi into d square is how much? 1 millimeter. So 10 power minus 2 by 4. Sorry, 10 power minus 4 divided by 4. Okay, this is what is going to cause the stress. You're able to understand, guys? Now, it's a simple problem. 10.3. There is a tungsten wire of length 20 centimeter, which is stretched by. Can I move on? Yes.
So it's 10 power minus 6, right?
Why is it 10 power minus 6? 1 millimeter.
It's
Sorry.
millimeter, right?
Yeah, millimeter, right? Oh, yesterday also I did the same thing. So it is 10 power minus 6 divided by 4. Okay, it become 10 power 7 into 4 divided by pi. Now it makes sense?
Yes, sir.
Right. So there is a tungsten wire. Okay, tungsten is again a metal, like you have these elastic properties. Tungsten wire of length 20 centimeter, which is stretched by 0.1 centimeter. Find the strain on the wire. So what is the original length of it? It is 20 into 10 power minus 2 meter. It is stretched by 0.1 into 10 power minus 2 meter. Okay, so that is delta L is this much. So what is going to be the strain? 0.1 divided by 20. So 1 divided by 200. So this is the value. Am I clear, guys?
Yes, sir.
Simple, yeah, simple problems these are. The next part of this is if an iron wire is stretched by 1%. So delta L. So generally, what is percentage change? Can someone tell me what does percentage change mean? How do you define percentage change? It is change in something, that is change in length divided by original length into 100. Right. So what is change in length by original length? Delta L divided by L into 100 is how much? Is 1%. Right. So delta L by L is how much? How much is delta L by L, guys? 1 divided by 100. So 1 divided by 100 will be,
So,
tell me.
sir, wouldn't it be L plus delta L upon L?
Which one change?
Yes,
that what
no,
you're
no, so not change in length, but the changed length, like L plus delta L upon
But
L.
that's not what they're asking. Stretched by 1%. So if an iron wire is stretched by 1%, means the change that has happened, the percentage change that has happened is 1%. Means initially, if the wire was of length 10 centimeter, then what is the final length of the wire now? According to this question, it will be 10.01 centimeter. You're able to understand? So that is what they mean
Yes,
by percentage. It is something similar to the relative change quantity in the units and dimensions. While calculating errors, I would have told you, right? So change in length divided by original length into 100 is called as percentage change in length. Okay. If you don't put this 100, it becomes a fractional change. This I've taught many times, right? So is this question clear for everyone? Guys, yes or no? Any doubt? So I'm hoping it is 100% clear. So 0.01. Okay. So what did we see first? We saw what is the introduction to this chapter. Then we saw what is stress. Then we saw what is strain. Right. Now we need to define a particular parameter which is going to give us the relation between stress and strain because they are interrelated parameters. Am I right or not? So when you apply deforming force, the object undergoes two things. What is it? It is undergoing a stress in the first place, and the second is it is under a strain also. So then we can easily say that these two quantities are interrelated. Right. So when they are interrelated, can I say something like this? First, I need to define something called as elastic limit. So name is suggesting something. What is elastic limit? Limit means what? Limit is maximum value. Right. So what does elastic mean? Elastic means something to do with the elasticity. So if you take an object, right? So what will happen, guys? Tell me one thing. Let's say you take a rubber band. Okay. You apply a pulling force in both the directions. You will pull it to a certain extent and leave. Will it come to its original shape?
Yes, sir.
Right? You pull it even more further and try to leave. It will try to come back to its original position. If you pull it slightly more, then I'm not sure if you guys have observed, you can observe a small amount of white patch kind of stuff that we form. You can see that the rubber band will become thin. Have you ever observed that? If not, you can do an activity and see. Okay, it becomes white. If you pull it, if you try to pull it beyond a certain limit. So beyond that white line also, if you try to pull, what will happen? It will break. So that's called as a breaking point. Means it will not be able to, when it breaks, obviously it can't regain its original shape. So there will be a particular limit before this white color line is produced. Am I right? Till where whatever force you try to apply and release, the object will try to regain its original shape. Are you able to understand? So if you are able to calculate the maximum stress within which the elastic object is able to regain its original shape when the deforming force is removed, is what we call it as the elastic limit. Right? It's as simple as that. Okay. So if the stress is developed in the body exceeds the limit, then it will not set the initial condition even after the removal of the deforming force. There is a possibility where it might get completely out of shape, or means it can become a plastic, and after a certain point it can break also. But those concepts we will see in some other concept called as stress strain curve. But as of now, what is our concept of discussion? It is elastic limit. I hope I'm clear till this point, right? Now, based on the concept of elastic limit, there is a scientist who has proposed a law, which is called as Hooke's law. Okay. So, have you guys ever seen something like this? Have you guys seen a spring balance? Yes or no? Have you ever seen a spring balance where there will be a small hook kind of stuff like this? It will be covered at this portion.
Yes,
One side there will be mass which will measure in terms of kilogram. Other side there will be a measurement for force, mass multiplied by the equivalent value, right? So what will happen when you suspend a weight here? The spring, why is it called a spring balance? Because when you suspend the object, the spring will get elongated, right? It will get elongated, and when will it stop? It will get elongated and stops exactly at the point when it has measured the weight of that object. Right? That is what an ideal spring balance is supposed to do. Is that right? No. The spring balance, if I ask you what is the principle on which it works? What is the principle on which it works? Let us say every spring balance has a limit. For example, 0 kilogram, and it is able to measure 10 kilogram. Let's say something like this. Are you able to understand? So 0 kilogram and 10 kilogram, if I put it, that is the maximum limit. So what will happen if you suspend an object whose mass is more than 10 kilogram? Then there is a high possibility that
Spring will break.
it need not break. There is a high possibility that you're trying to spoil the spring. Maybe the spring has got elongated and it is not able to come back to its original position. Am I right? Correct. Huh? So might be if the winding between the spring initially was like this, even after the deforming force is removed, it could come back to its original position. But now what will happen? The distance between each winding will increase, and it will get in a completely set form. It will get completely set in that form. You cannot have any more elastic properties associated with it. Okay, so this point is what is called as elastic limit. So the spring balance also works on the principle of Hooke's law. Okay, so how exactly does it work? It is something similar. See, within elastic limit, this is a very, very important point. So whenever you state a law, right, that particular law will be defined under certain conditions. So what is the condition here for you to define Hooke's law? You need to have the object being suspended within the elastic limit. So within the elastic limit, what will happen? It is observed that the stress is directly proportional to strain. Are you able to understand? So the whole concept is stress is directly proportional to strain under what condition? Under the elastic limit. Okay. Now, whenever you remove a proportionality symbol, you need to introduce a constant, and the constant that I introduce here is E. And this E is called as the modulus of elasticity. Okay. So this is a very, very, very important term. This is a very, very, very important term. So what is modulus of elasticity, guys? It is the ratio of, so when you rearrange the equation, what will you get? E will be equal to stress divided by strain. So what is modulus of elasticity? It is the ratio of stress to strain under what conditions? Under the elastic limit. Correct? Guys, any doubt? Why is no one responding?
Yes, sir.
Clear, right? Okay. So, what is going to be the definition of modulus of elasticity? Within the elastic limit, the stress in the body produced per unit strain is what we call it as modulus of elasticity. So, it depends on what parameter. It depends on the nature of the material. For example, a rubber might behave different compared to a stainless steel, compared to an aluminum rod, compared to a copper rod, something like that, right? It depends on the material. It depends on the temperature. Why temperature? You will understand under the thermal properties and certain impurities that are getting added. So these are all the parameters on which what will happen. The modulus of elasticity will be dependent. Right. So what is going to be the series? What is going to be the SI system unit?
Sir?
Tell me.
Sir, it can also depend on the environment, right, sir? Like
Mhm.
the force
Environment.
changes, right, sir?
Environment in the sense, what are you trying to say? You mean to try? You are trying to say the surroundings?
Yes, sir. Like gravitation change. If the G changes, then
Maybe see, I cannot say G changes, this is going to change because it mostly depends on the nature of the material. Whether you carry out the experiment here or on some other planet or something, it depends on this thing. The modulus of elasticity is the property of the material, but the gravity will affect the stress. Try to understand the difference. Are you able to understand what I'm trying to say?
sir, if
See,
it affect the stress, then modulus of elasticity also changes, right?
that is what we think. See, that is why we always do a mistake. Okay, just I have to see that it is nothing related to this concept. Generally, whenever you are studying a law, right, for you to understand better, I will explain in terms of Ohm's law. Then I'll come to this. Is there anyone else having the same doubt in mind? Any other question that is popping out from what he has asked? Nothing. Okay. Can someone state what is Ohm's law? Can someone state what is Ohm's law? You have learned last year. Under a given, something is important, like how we defined elastic limit here.
Temperature.
If temperature is constant, then what is proportional to what?
Potential difference is proportional to the current.
Current. So can I write V is equal to IR, where R is introduced when you remove the when you remove the proportionality symbol, correct? So R is equal to V divided by I. Is it not something like E is equal to stress by strain? Right. Now you might think that when G is going to change, stress is going to change. So my modulus of elasticity will change. That is not the way you think. How is this E introduced as? Or how is this R introduced as? What do we call it as? We call it as
Constant.
constant and constant is a constant. It will not change, right? It should not change, right? So if I say something like this, will you accept it? If I change the potential difference, let's say I have a copper wire. Let's say I have a copper wire and I connect a 5-volt battery here. Okay, current is flowing something like this. Let's say its resistance is 1 ohm. So current flowing will be 5 ampere. Correct? Now, will you accept if I say if I change the potential difference here, the resistance will change because they both are directly proportional? Is that right? Is my statement even
No,
right?
sir.
Why?
Sir.
Why?
Sir, actually, current will reduce.
Yes. Though the current will change in accordance so that this ratio is always a constant. Correct? That is why when you're studying about a constant of proportionality, you need to be very, very careful. Here, what did we do? We defined stress is directly proportional to strain. Under what conditions? When they are within the elastic limit. So stress will be equal to E times strain. So how is E introduced? E is introduced as a constant of proportionality. So E will be equal to stress divided by strain. Right? Where this E is called as the modulus of elasticity for whom? For the given material. That given material, let's say it is made up of stainless steel. Okay, let's say it is made up of stainless steel. Whether you take a 1 centimeter stainless steel or a 1 meter stainless steel or 100 kilometer stainless steel, the modulus of elasticity of that material will still remain the same.
Sir, even
Provided,
this is at the same temperature, right?
yeah, this is at the same temperature. Because I'm not sure if you know what will happen if temperature changes. If temperature increases, conductors have the tendency to increase their resistance. Why is it so? You learn it next year. That's a different story. Okay, that is the reason why Ohm's law is stated under a constant temperature. So this is the very, very important point. The reason why I explained this is you should understand how to study a law. Okay, most of us memorize
sir.
it. Don't please tell me.
Sir, initially in the start of the class, I asked a doubt that suppose there is there's an object, and if we
Mhm.
apply 6 Newton force to it, then there's no change in the shape. But the
Mhm.
moment we apply 7 Newton, there's a change in the shape. In
Okay.
that, initially the modulus of elasticity is undefined because there's no strain. But
Okay.
when we apply 7 Newton force, then suddenly the modulus of elasticity comes into picture with the value. Then how is that
Okay.
possible?
It is like you're checking something with your experiment. But generally, in an industry standard, I hope you understand what I mean by industry standard, right? In a real-time world, let's say, you know what is a hardware? Not the computer hardware. I'm talking about the hardwares that are there for your doors and all those things. You would have seen that, right? You have a handle, you will have a bolt.
Yes, sir.
All these things, these are all made up of what materials? Mostly you go to a shop, right? Next time when you go observe all these things, you go to a shop and you want to buy a bolt or something. Let's say you want to buy a door stopper. You will have different materials available. One will be made of aluminum, one will be made of copper, one will be coated with something else. Okay, when you take all those materials, right, in industry standard, what they do is they do a stress and a strain test with a particular amount of load. I hope you understand what I meant by load. The load is the 7 Newton that you're trying to talk about. You're able to understand? So they will take a particular piece of a material, okay, and they will try to do an experiment and see. Suppose you want to buy a pure copper thing, let's say pure copper availability is rare and it is a costly material. What they can do, they can mix it with some impurities and they will sell it to you, which will be a cheaper material. Accepted? Are you able to understand what I'm trying to say? Let's say you want,
Sir, could you repeat, sir? I actually
I'll
got
come.
disconnected.
I'll come to that point. Guys, others are able to understand what I'm trying to say. Let's say you want to buy a
Yes,
small
sir.
copper. You want to buy a small copper bar. You're going to some hardware shop. You're saying, Anna, give me a copper bar of this much length. Okay. So let us say this copper bar is there and this copper bar is there. This is a pure one. This is mixed with some impurities. But still, what is that you're able to see with your eyes? You're still able to see it like a copper rod only. But where will the impurity be? It will be mixed in it, which you can't obviously see. Right? So what they will do on a real-time basis is, do you think the factory will produce only this much length? Right? You're not the only person in the world buying the hardware, right? So do you think they'll produce only this much length? Obviously, right? So they're going to produce a bigger length for which they will do a load test. Okay. So based on the load test only, they will try to calculate for different amount. They will do a load test for this and they will do a load test for this. And then they will calculate the modulus of elasticity, which will be arrived at a particular value. Like, you know how your question is actually, R is equal to V by I. You're looking at it mathematically, but I'm trying to explain practically, understand. Have you ever seen a resistor? You would have seen this rheostat kind of thing, right? A rheostat. Not sure if you have seen that. Say yes if you have seen it. No, if you have not seen it.
Yes, sir.
You have seen it, right? You have seen a rheostat. Okay, leave the rheostat also. You take a small copper wire. In your house, you have electrical wiring system, right? On which top there will be an insulation. Inside there will be a wire, right? So your question is like this. Sir, I didn't apply stress in the initial case. So this will be 0. Isn't my modulus of elasticity? So this will be 0 and strain is 0. So 0 by 0, I am not yet defined it. So, Subrajit, are you able to understand? In a similar way, you take this copper wire when it is not connected to any load in the sense when it is not connected across battery. Can I say that the resistance of the wire is 0?
No, sir.
You're able to understand why it is not 0? Because by default, that material already has certain properties. It is because of the chemical properties that are arising. In a similar way, they calculate this also. I hope you understood.
Yes, sir. Understood.
Understood, right? So don't look at this like a mathematical term. Next time onwards, I want to make this correction, guys. Whenever you're thinking about the law rate, try to think in terms of industry values. Like, try to think what will you do if you do that activity and see. You buy something or you do something, how will you observe it? Okay. Yes. So what were we discussing? Definition of modulus of elasticity. So when you talk about the modulus of elasticity, it is within the elastic limit, the stress is directly proportional to the strain. Sorry, the ratio of the stress by strain is what we call it as modulus of elasticity, right? So what is going to be the SI unit? It is obviously going to take the units of stress, which is Newton per meter square or Pascal, right? And what is going to be the dimensional formula of modulus of elasticity? It will be ML minus 1 and T minus 2, which you can derive it. I showed it yesterday. Okay. So some important points to be remembered are units and dimensions of the modulus of elasticity are same as that of the stress and the strain. Okay. So actually it should be the same as that of stress. So the value of modulus of elasticity is independent of the, did you get your answer now? It is independent of whom? It is independent of the magnitude of the stress and the strain. You apply how much of stress you want, you apply, you bring in how much of a strain you want. But modulus of elasticity depends on the nature of the material you're using. Okay. So a material is said to be more elastic if the modulus of elasticity is more obviously a known parameter because it can sustain more amount of stress. That is the reason. So if a graph is drawn for the stress versus strain within the elastic limit, it should be a straight line passing through the origin, and the slope of this graph gives modulus of elasticity. Remember this statement. This I will explain in the stress statement. That will be the last topic that we will be discussing. Okay. Any doubt till this point?
No, sir.
Right. So this point alone, what you can do, this is not there in our NCERT textbook. What I will do, I will share all these points. You can read it later. So the next concept is moduli of elasticity. Generally, any word that ends with US, the plural of it will have double I. So moduli of elasticity means the three types of modulus of elasticity that we are going to discuss. First one, see what is the, if you observe, there is a pattern in this chapter. If you observe, there is a pattern in this chapter: stress, strain, and when I talk about modulus of elasticity. So stress, I'm talking about longitudinal. What was the counterpart? When longitudinal stress is applied, there will be a longitudinal strain. So if you're able to take the ratio of longitudinal strain to longitudinal stress, you will get one modulus of elasticity. Are you able to understand? Similarly, what will be the other concept? It will be volumetric stress, volumetric strain. So if you take the ratio of volumetric stress and volumetric strain, you will get an other type of modulus of elasticity. Similarly, what is the third one? Shearing stress and shearing strain. So if you take the ratio of shearing stress to the shearing strain, you will get the third type of modulus of elasticity. Okay. So the first one that you get is called as Young's modulus. The second one that you get is called as bulk modulus. And the third one you get is called as modulus of rigidity. Don't get confused. This is modulus of rigidity. Rigidity is generally defined for a tough elastic material. Okay, because here the change in shape is taking place. Generally, what happens with respect to rigid body, according to us, change in shape should not take place. But shearing stress and shearing strain will cause a change in shape of the object. That is why we call it as modulus of rigidity. Are you able to understand? So this is the simplest table that you need to remember to understand the whole chapter. Okay. So the first topic that we are going to see is Young's modulus. So we can call it as Young's modulus of elasticity also. So within the elastic limit,
Sir,
what? Tell me.
Sir, then modulus of rigidity would be dimensionless.
Modulus of rigidity would be no, it's a dimensional quantity only, no, because Shearing stress also has the same formula, F divided by a tangential force divided by area of cross section.
Okay, sir.
Yeah. So within elastic limit, what will happen? The ratio of the longitudinal stress to the longitudinal strain is what we call it as Young's modulus of elasticity. Okay. So this is the basic formula, but you should never forget the word with the statement within elastic limit, or else your whole law is wrong. Never forget it. Okay. Secondly, observe. How do you calculate the Young's modulus for a given wire? Let us say you consider a wire of length L, which is fixed at one end, and let a weight mg be suspended from its lower end. Okay, mg is suspended from its lower end. The stretching force F acting on a wire is F is equal to mg. Right, the stressing force that is acting on the wire is F is equal to mg. So stress is equal to what? Force divided by area. So mg divided by what is going to be the area? It is pi r square. The stress is the force is acting on this much amount of area. Okay, let us say there is an extension of delta L that has taken place in the material. Then what is going to be the longitudinal strain that I'm trying to talk about? It will be delta L divided by L. Right, now stress divided by strain will be equal to mg divided by pi r square, the whole divided by delta L by L. So this will be mg into capital L divided by pi r square into delta L. So this whole thing can be called as the Young's modulus of elasticity.
So for a wire, right?
It is for a wire, yes. It is for a wire. Or you can say it is a rod also. Because here I'm trying to talk about the tensile stress. Okay. So it is important to note this point. If you have to define the Young's modulus for a perfect rigid body, which is obviously not going to exist. So for a perfectly rigid body, it is infinity, or I can say it is not defined also. Infinity as delta L is 0. There will be no change in length for a perfectly rigid body. Okay. If the same for any applied force of F, and if you calculate the Young's modulus for a perfectly plastic material, that will be 0. Okay, for a perfectly plastic material, the Young's modulus is going to be 0. So important point to be noted is only solids can have Young's modulus, and liquids and gases do not possess any Young's modulus, because liquids and gases occupy volumes. They cannot be restricted to a length, and they do not have a shape of their own. That is the first thing.
Sir, why perfectly plastic material Young's modulus will be 0?
Because you can't define delta L. Delta L will be considered to be infinite. When you talk about a perfectly elastic material, you can keep on extending it. And you can't define it the first place. I can't say it is infinity. You can't define it. So when this parameter becomes 0, Young's modulus is going to be 0. That is the reason.
Okay.
So when you take this, there is a brass wire of diameter 1 millimeter and 2 meter, which is stretched by applying a force of 20 Newton. So diameter is how much? 1 millimeter, that is 10 power minus 3 meter, and length is 2 meter. It is stretched by applying a force of how much value? 20 Newton. Right. If the increase in length is 0.51 mm, delta L is equal to 0.51 into 10 power minus 3 meter. Find the stress, strain, and the Young's modulus of the wire. So I hope you can calculate the stress. F divided by pi d square by 4 is the stress. What is strain? Delta L divided by L is the strain. So if you calculate the stress and strain, divide both, that will give you the Young's modulus. Right, guys? So calculate the stress, 2.546 is the answer, calculate the strain. Now divide both, that will give you the Young's modulus, and that will be the required answer. Okay, so this problem I'll explain tomorrow. After this, there are two more concepts, the three more subdivisions that we need to discuss. One is called as bulk modulus, and the second is called as the modulus of rigidity. And the last concept that we'll be discussing is the stress strain curve. With that, this chapter is over. So by tomorrow, hopefully, I can complete this chapter. Then we can do some problems. Okay. So that is all for today's class from my end. Okay. I hope everybody has seen a group message. Don't leave. Just wait for 2 more minutes. I have something important to state. Okay. I have to make an important announcement.
Sir,
Please tell.
sir, could you share this material in the group?
Yeah, I'll do that. Shall
Sir,
I do
I
it?
have a
Today?
doubt. Thank you,
I thought. Tell me.
Sir, I have a doubt in potential energy.
Potential.
Potential energy. Shall I ask now?
Potential energy for which material? Like MGH? Or like you're talking about the gravitational potential energy or something else?
Yes, sir. Gravitational potential energy.
Okay, we'll do one thing. No, like you have class at 5:15. I've asked the math sir to take at 5:15. Let me complete the announcement which I told you. Then
Yeah,
if,
okay.
if you send me a message in the student support number, I'll get back there. Okay. Just a minute.